Big news in first world Maoist circles. The organization known as the New Communist Party, LC, which I commonly referred to as the New York Maoists, has now ceased to exist. The group has dissolved and closed its doors. Now, the reason this has happened is a bit of a complicated story. Now, what has happened is their sister groups that were part of the same organization, the Red Guards Los Angeles and the Red Guards Austin, have split from that group. And they adamantly denounced them, rightly so, for a lot of the inappropriate conduct that was going on in the New York Maoists, particularly as it regards one individual, Freddy Bastone. Freddy Bastone was a known domestic abuser with multiple victims and has been accused, but with no proof, of much worse things. Now, the NCP had initially declared that Freddy Bastone was no longer a member of the organization, but that turned out to be a lie. So due to other ongoing conduct like rampant misogyny, frankly, disgusting conduct towards women, the two organizations decided to disassociate themselves from the NCP, and both have gone on without it. Now here's a small piece of one of the official statements that was put out. Since before there was an LC, there were issues with one member of their precursor organization, the New Communist Party Organizing Committee, the NCP-LC, who went on to be the founding members of the liaison committee, Freddy Bastone. We knew of several smaller allegations against Freddy, but were not aware of the depth of his predatory actions and transgressions. We were largely kept in the dark on the matter, which was hesitantly discussed at most. When we began to suspect that some of the rumors were in fact closer to the truth than the official explanations we received, we stalled on integration, but continued supporting the mass work that the LC members and affiliates were engaged in, uniting where we could on the issues we could support. Upon one of our confrontations, we were finally informed that Freddy was no longer a member of the LC and that he had been kicked out due to a refusal to rectify for patriarchal behavior, a description we understand now to be downplaying of the transgressions, attempting to portray them as nothing more than machismo and oppressive language. We see this as a rightist error. Presenting an antagonistic contradiction and a non-antagonistic contradiction allowed these New York City LC members to treat enemies as friends. Only recently has the severity of Freddy's abuse come to light. The fact is, Freddy has assaulted more than one person, and in fact there are multiple survivors of his attacks that we know of. Though in the interest of respecting their wishes, we will not mention them nor describe the incidents. The worst part is that some of these sexual and non-sexual assaults occurred after Freddy had been kicked out of the LC. Now myself, through the grapevine, am aware of some of these stories, and for these same reasons, I'm not going to disclose the information for the protection of the victims, obviously. The main problem that these two groups had with the NCP was the fact that they would not self-criticize for their, frankly, constant male chauvinist attitudes. Their organization, the NCP-LC, was formed out of the NCP-OC, people who were kicked out for their sexist behavior, and then formed a group of their own. So unsurprisingly, this sexist behavior continued. Now, there are more allegations made against their organization. They certainly have a history of protesting too much. In fact, one of the long-standing criticisms, not just myself, but many organizations and many people have had of the NCP was their rampant sexism. Now, once those accusations started to reach a fever pitch where people were no longer, were able to let it go, they just kept going on about these incidents, the leader of it, Carlos Rivera, suddenly declared himself to be a trans woman. The timing of it, of course, is immensely suspicious, and since she announced herself to be a woman, those accusations, those pointing out of sexist behaviors, suddenly disappeared. So take what you will from that. Now, of course, I have very large ideological differences with the NCP, the Red Guards Los Angeles, and Austin. That's fairly obvious, being a third worldist. However, I do recommend that people take what they say very seriously, because it is a serious situation, and people should stand by them and in what they've said about the New York Maoists. And I also highly suggest that no one take my word for it. The statements by these organizations about their departure from the NCP are available online, and I have included a link to those in the description. In fact, it's been an ongoing problem. Sexism has been a problem in a lot of organizations, and a lot of ones, some trots, some not trots, have had rape allegations go completely unchecked, and nothing done in their organizations about these incidents. So it's by no means limited to the New York Maoists. This has been going on in several organizations, and it's showing to be an increasing problem. Although I find it very interesting how, as identity politics takes off in the first world, people basing their revolutionary ideologies off their gender, their sex, various other identities, rather than class struggle, these problems are actually starting to get worse. Now, it would make sense that if you were basing things off of these identities, that perhaps these identities would be protected a little bit better. But the opposite is happening. And this is a general trend that I'm seeing right through first worldist organizations. So regardless of how you feel about the NCP or anybody else, there is very much a real problem with sexism in the first world. And this is a problem that definitely does need to be tackled. Thank you for watching. Won't you go ahead, rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media. And if you want, you can head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you could head over to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available.